Welcome everybody to our session, Powerful Report and Document Automation in D365 FinOps with dox42. I'm Johannes Linder, the lead technical evangelist at dox42, and we've prepared an awesome lot for you today where you will see all the benefits of document automation in D365. Luckily for all of this, I'm not alone, and I'm also joined by dox42 CEO Christian Bauer.
Hello everyone, my name is Christian Bauer. I'm CEO of dox42 and welcome to our session.
So what's the plan for the next 30 minutes? The first thing Christian is going to cover is the essence of document automation. Why do you need it? What are the challenges? And if done right, how can it make life a lot easier? The second part will be an extensive live demo directly in D365 FinOps. We will have a sales invoice with automated tables, with a lot of automation, with the processes of course in D365, but also, and very importantly, the design done in Microsoft Word, Excel and PowerPoint.
So why is document automation essential on the Dynamics 365 platform? Every company, every organization is creating tons of contracts, of presentations, of offers, of any kind of document every single day. And many of these documents require quite a bit of complexity. Require to integrate text modules or conditions, a dynamic hyperlink, including images, maybe a barcode. And all this is not easily doable using the standard tools. Of course, you can resort to programming, yes. Having a developer doing that based on reporting services or business documents, okay, that's possible, yes, but then business users have no control about their templates anymore, apart from being a very expensive way. But business users need control about their templates, so what are they doing? They resort to copy-pasting. And copy-pasting is very error-prone, it's cumbersome, and it takes a lot of effort. And this is why introducing document automation in a company normally allows for a break-even of only 3 months. Well, that's the business perspective. Let's have a look on the technical perspective. Let's have a look what is Microsoft doing in terms of software architecture. Microsoft is splitting up its applications into smaller reusable services. Universally reusable services like Power Automate, Dataverse. Okay. Yes, there has always been an automation capability on AX, on NAV, on CRM, SharePoint of course. But Microsoft is trying to get rid of these proprietary capabilities in favor of the Power Platform because it's universally usable. It works for any system and also future systems. Okay. Another example is Microsoft Teams. You can use Microsoft Teams as a universal front door for all of these applications. And the adoption of Teams is great for good reason. Let's compare the new and the old architecture. In an old architecture, a customer would say, I have my AX and I am running everything from there. I'm doing everything from AX, period. In a new architecture, the same customer would say, I'm using Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation for ERP, for example, but then I have my marketing department, they want to run their marketing campaigns from CE, so I have my CE, then I have some Power Automates for automation purposes, I'm using Teams as a universal front door, then I have documents, I want to manage them, so I'm using SharePoint for that, maybe my OneDrive link to that, and so on. So you have a lot of applications working together. What does that mean for the standard tools? The standard tools are always an add-on to one of these applications, so they don't work with all of them. But data tends to be more distributed, okay, in all of these applications. So what you want is a universally usable service for document automation. And most of third-party tools as well are an add-on to one of these applications. Same true here, okay? And the distributed information doesn't make it much easier for copy-pasters as well. So what you really want is a universal service for document automation that connects to every system, that integrates with every system, also future systems, that allows business users to design the templates to be in control of these documents and being able to create quite complex documents And that's dox42 for you. Let's see it in action.
Let's get started with the live demo. So as you see, we have standard finance and operations in this case, and we would like to generate our sales invoice. You can either go through the standard processes, or like I'm going to do in the demo, we will cover it with the invoice journal and to see one of our latest invoices. Let's just sort them with the date and generate an invoice. Perfect. As you see here, we have a document, as you'd expect, easily designed in the background in Microsoft Word, with the header information, with the logo, with everything in our corporate design. We also have a table that gets automated with sums. As you see, also there is an option where there, in this case, is not a freight amount included, which could be. So there's also some conditions in this. We have a subdocument integrated that I will show you later on, which is a 100% separate Word document that can be maintained, in this case, for example, by any of the units. Let's say this would be coming from sales, that would be integrated. And very commonly used also that the terms and condition gets integrated, and those are also maybe saved in another location and integrated into many different documents, where the benefit would be still in the background, it's maintained in one location. All right, how does finance and operations know that it's now using dox42 and it is not going with the standards? There is an integration of dox42 into finance and operations, where we define all of these parameters. So either, like you see it here, this is within my favorites, but also if we have a look into the system administration, we will see that there is a new option with dox42. There we go, with all the different configurations. So for example, the most important one is the standard parameters. There is, of course, first of all, the service configuration. We will not cover this today in too much detail. There is also a user configuration, but most importantly, the report configuration. This is the place where you define that, for example, our sales invoice that we use is now generated with dox42 based on the design that is done in Microsoft Word. All the reports that you see here with that checkbox are enabled to be generated with dox42. And the one we've just used is our sales invoice from down below, where we also have to have the option to use it either for the company or for another company. So there are different designs, and also, like we later see, that there's different language configurations you can also use based on this. Let's have a look into the one that we currently use. So that's our sales invoice. With the report setup, we will see that in here we already have two different language options with different template locations, but the one that's used for every other language but those two is the one in the top. In this path, you will see that this is an actual Word document, and in this case saved in a SharePoint. Those of you who technically want to dig deeper, of course, this could also be on a server. In our integration, it's a 100% cloud option, where this will be in SharePoint Online. Let's jump to that SharePoint location. In this D365 SharePoint site, you see we not only have the finance and operations templates, but also the CE and the BC options. So in case you want to see a demo, join our other sessions. We also have a session with CE and also with Power Automate. So dox42, like we see today, is of course perfectly integrated into finance and operations, but also works with a lot of other applications. Let's have a look into the finance and operations templates and the sales invoice that we currently want to adjust. So we can open this straight away from SharePoint, and we will open, as you see, a standard Word document with all the functionality that we have in SharePoint and with all the functionality that we of course have in this case in Microsoft Word. All those blue and green fields are coming from any of the data sources. In this case, it's the report data sources. So we have the sales invoice line items that get integrated, but also the sales invoice header information that gets integrated, which we will see if we click on Insert Data field up here. And that's the data sources that are available for that very report. If we click on any of those, we will see where they are coming from. So that will be the invoicing name coming from, in this case, the sales invoice lines. The header, the lines are beneath. And let's just, for the sake of the demo, integrate a new field. Let's again use the name. Invoicing name. There's multiple options of the types you can integrate, so formatting numbers, date times, images, or as we would like to try now, barcodes. Also, the other ones are very commonly used, like integrating an entire Word document, PowerPoints, PDFs. So I hope you see the flexibility in terms of integrating data into that very document. Let's use the barcode for the moment. Use the QR code, and also let's include a dimension to not make this too big, of 50 pixels. The rest will be according to the ratio, so that should be integrated. To get a feeling about the rest of the data, we will be able to generate that document locally always. So that's very important that you also have a test experience when you design those documents. So let's click on Generate up here. And as you see, this will then generate the document locally. And if we view them side by side, there is a couple of new features that we see, which is of course our QR code. The rest is according to the document that we have already seen in Finance and Operations directly, with of course all the options that now get integrated into the PDF directly in F&O. All right, the Word document that you see here, in case you're wondering where this is coming from, let's have a look into the SharePoint library again. And there is an add included in this one that in this case, it's like a standard Word document, so we could even have this here maintained directly in SharePoint Online. Wonderful trips to Switzerland for Dynamics users. Of course, that change would then be automatically in our document once again. Perfect. So that's a little change in here. And let's just test it again. Once again from the add-in, if that already worked. Right, seems like I haven't saved it yet, but that's something I will surely do, and you will see that in the PDF generation in a second. So let's just check here. So now that should be saved, that's good. And in terms of the design, what I haven't shown you yet is where these data sources are coming from. For that, we have the dox42 data map designer. So if we click up here, what you will see is basically the same that we have already seen on the right-hand side, but in a more complex way, where you can define which data sources you want to integrate, which data from the reports you want to integrate. And if we, for example, just for demo purpose, have a look into that sales invoice, what we will see there is we can, of course, select the report, but also from that report, the according table. And if we don't want all the fields to be included in, for example, the view on the right-hand side, there is a way where we can select which one should be integrated into that very report. The similar approach to the reports that get integrated, we also have to the entities. So we can integrate also data from the entities directly and get them into a report. There is also an option to generate based only on entity data, which we will also see in a second. All right, so much for the data integration. Last important thing about the data map designer is that all of the data sources you see up here can be integrated into your document. So very importantly, you can combine those. So it's going to be like let's say you have a combination of CE and F&O. Combine those and trigger them either from F&O or from CE. Both is perfectly fine. Or maybe you also have the integration where both of them should be triggered, but automatically based on a flow. Then feel free to do so. dox42 can integrate them. Cool. For the rest of the information you can use here, feel free to reach out for a demo. We can go into detail on these ones. There's visualizations option, there's more calculation options. So basically everything that you hopefully need in your documents. Cool. So much for the design. Let's get back to finance and operations. promised you that the changes we have already done should now already be visible in the documents that we can generate. So let's just do another report generation, in this case again with the sales invoice, and we should be able to see the barcode that we integrated and also the changes in the sub Word document we did. The barcode is there, perfect, that's something we did. And also, like you see here, now there's the Dynamics Con users, which we added to the Word document as a sub-document that gets integrated. What other options are there to use dox42 within Dynamics 365? We have seen the generation, which of course is within the standard process. But if we go back, there's also different options that can be used within the print management. So let's just use our print management in this case. Without going into too much detail here, we have the option integrated where you can also send out those reports. The good thing is that the dox42 is not only used for the design of the attachment, which in this case is the invoice, but also the Word document that can be done as a mail body. So basically, again here you have the option to simply design those in a Word document and still it's integrated into a business-ready process in finance and operations. The report has been successfully printed. That sounds great. Let's have a look into our demo user, which is in our case Michaela. So she's updating her inbox. And there we go. Integrated that data. And as you see also in the very invoice that is attached again, we will have our adjustments done based on what we have done. And in the email, you also have an option to get the data into the email body, which again is a Word document that I can just briefly show you really quick. Let's go back to the D365 FO templates in SharePoint, and in here we will have the mail body, in this case in two languages. One will be the English one, and if we open that, we will see it will look very similar to what we've already seen based on the design, but it will also look very similar to the email that we have generated, as you see in here. Of course, also if you want, you can test this again in the local add-in with the generation options. Perfect. So much also for the email options. There are also many more options that you can use within the integration of D365 FO. Another one that I promised you is that documents are not only based on report data, but also on entity data. So if we just have a quick look again to our dox42 parameters within finance and operations, there is, similar to what we've seen with the reports, we also have the option with the entities. So let's just click here, and you see there is in this case two options integrated, which will generate a report based on the vendors. So if we go to all our vendors, like we do here, we should be able to, let's just select one of them. And as you see, there is a new button. Again, generating the document with the desired output that we can do. So something that we haven't really covered yet is SharePoint. So there is an option to automatically save documents to SharePoint. We have done that also when we generated the sales invoice. There is an automated archive that will save the document when generated automatically into SharePoint and also including the metadata. We will do the same thing in this case with our render report. There is a site code that already defines in which SharePoint library we want to save that, and there is also going to be a file name. Perfect. Let's just use this one for the moment. Trigger the generation has again been successfully printed. That's great. And jump back into our SharePoint library to see if we already got the desired output. Let's go here again. There is the D365 FO documents. And you see a few seconds ago we generated the vendor fact sheet. Let's just have a look onto this one. With the desired data based on the entity data. And of course, as you see here, there is also the invoice that we've just generated 4 minutes ago. Let's have a look into that one as well. Perfect. So much for the finance and operations integration. We've seen the archive, we've seen the SharePoint integration, we've seen the flexible design. Before jumping into the references, let me just briefly show you some other integrations that we already have. Similar to what you have seen, we can use this in Dynamic CE. So again, some button options that will then automatically generate a document triggered from CE with data combination from wherever you want to use this. And the same can also be used within SharePoint, which is going to be the second demo I will give you in a second. There is a document, again, some table automation, repetitions, conditions, so complex documents, and the same also directly in SharePoint. So looking into the SharePoint integration, what I'd like to show you here briefly is, of course, that generation in this case triggered from SharePoint directly, but also something that we haven't seen before, PowerPoint. So in this case, we can, for example, select based on whatever selection we take from that very SharePoint list, click on the dox42 option, generate, in this case, a sales report based on, again, a PowerPoint template, similar to what we've already seen in Word. So that works quite the same way. And then as an output, we will get the PowerPoint document, in this case, also downloaded with data complexity, where there's repetitions again, there's conditions that are slides integrated based on conditions. So basically, if you want to output, for example, let's say you have some marketing materials that you want to use for this, dox42 is perfectly fine for such a case, and there's very, very many scenarios where we use this. If you haven't seen this yet, there is a dynamic CE session together with Fraser Yards, where there's a perfect integration of dox42 CE and PowerPoint. All right, quick recap. We have seen the integration in finance and operations. We've seen it in CE. We have seen it from SharePoint with a lot of different output options, with a lot of different input options. And at the end of the day, it's going to be an easy and very, very cool document process for your scenarios. Let's see some references what other customers do.